Well, I just wanted to say sorry for your loss, to begin with, and wanted to share a little story with you guys about Barbara when one time we were up in Tahoe. We all went up there and we were all hanging out and having a good day, and it was really snowy up there, and me and my dad were up there. My dad worked for him for a long time, and we were up there, and she comes sliding around the corner in her Jeep and sliding up, and my dad's up there and he's shoveling the snow as fast as we could, trying to get it ready for everybody to come up there for the weekend. And she comes sliding in and she almost hits my dad, and she's just so apologetic, and it was just one of the funniest things I can remember her doing, and it was a good time. We always just had such a good time, and I just wanted you guys to know that I loved your family so much. So thank you guys.
Hi, you guys. I'm Kim Webster. I know you don't all know me, but I want you to know how much I appreciated having your mom, your mother in law, your grandmother in my life for a certain period of time. She was one of the wisest and kindest people I know. And she really made me feel welcome, and she was so appreciative, and I just felt like a bigger, better person when I was with her. And I knew that she trusted me, and I felt loved. So, thanks, you guys, for sharing her with me.
I know you guys don't. The grandkids probably don't know me too much, but Dan, you know me. Adrian Emm, and my earliest recollections was with Barbara. I remember we went out and there were the geese out there, and she was so proud of her geese. And I was probably 5, 6 years old. And I know this is her favorite memory of me. I went out and I was like, bang, bang, bang. I shot her geese. I didn't shoot them, but figuratively, I shot her geese. Sorry. And that's her favorite memory of me. That's honestly probably one of my earliest memories ever, is with that. So I guess there's 4 lessons I've come from Barbara. She'd be happy to know I named my quail in my yard. I no longer shoot the quail or the geese. I name the deer. My deer's name is Hank. He walks by. Yeah. I name all my animals now. Even the praying mantis. His name's Fernando. So yeah, I've come around. I've come around to not shooting geese anymore. The other memory I have, lesson I learned, and I don't know if it was her point in her life or was it my point in my life. We were talking about something, and I was talking about this person, and I was talking about how successful they were and all these measurements of success that I thought were important. And she said, "Are they a good person?" And I couldn't answer that. So it made me want to be a good person every day and surround myself with good people. Because that's all that matters. That's ethics. That's what it boils down to. I took whatever class she taught, I took that in that one sentence. So the third thing I got from her was you could tell she was a good person by the way she gave you a hug. Probably the best hug I've ever had. And that's all you needed to know. The 4th lesson. So, this one you're going to laugh at, but I'm still trying to learn it. She invited me up to UNR, and I was going to go. She scheduled a walk, a tour with one of her students. And this was the first time I was ever by myself with Barbara. Like, I was about ready to go to college. She was kind of, she kind of rolled out the whole red carpet for me, had the private tour, all this great stuff. And so it was me by myself. I'm like, I got to impress her somehow. And so she ordered lunch. She had lunch ready for us. And it was an eggplant sandwich. And I used to live on like $5 waffles. And that's all I was accustomed to. And she rolled out the eggplant sandwich and I ate it. I was like, okay. And then another time we had lunch and I was like, I better impress her. So I got something with eggplant in it again. And then I was in a visitor in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and she invited me to the apartment and we went to lunch. And she's like, oh, there's this eggplant thing. It's really great. And so of course I had to impress. And I still don't get it with eggplant. If you have any insight on with the eggplant stuff, I would love that lesson. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm coming around a little bit, but I still haven't figured it out. So if you have any insight on why eggplant, please let me know. But yeah, I the animals, love them. Be a good person, surround yourself with good people, and give good hugs. Yeah, and eggplants. So thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say to Dan and Diane, and really even just speaking to Barbara, the essence of her. I didn't know Barbara as a professor. I didn't know her in her college years and championing for women. I knew her much later in life, and I knew her in the fiercest and most loyal love of a mother that anybody could ever experience. And it was such a painful season of life, and it was such a hard time. And through everything that I saw Barbara go through, navigate, and experience, it was like the fiercest love I've ever seen. The fierce love for her sons, her incredible joy and love for her grandkids, and every decision that she made truly was in this tension of how do I love my son in this space? How do I take care of and love my grandkids and what they're experiencing? And what I took away from my time with Barbara was my own determination to love my kids with the fierceness and the loyalty and the love that Barbara loved her grandkids and her children with. And I saw it in areas, and I saw it in times that maybe other people maybe didn't see or recognize. And that's the one thing I want, especially Mick and Kitty and Stella and Sean, to know, is how fiercely their grandma loved them and how much joy they brought her. And ultimately, I think that joy is what got her through the hardest times. And so I just wanted to share that.
So my name's Cheri Glockner, and I am here representing my mom, Jerry Germain. So my mom was born April 14th, 1936 in Tonopah, Nevada. She was 3 days older than Barb, who we called Barbie. And so they grew up in Tonopah together. My mom always called Barb her best friend. And I've come to find out that there's a million people in here whose moms were best friend with Barb. But when I was growing up, we grew up in LA, but we would come to Tahoe all the time. And we would always stop by Barb's house to say hi. And when I decided to go to UNR for college, Barbara kind of took me under her wing. I became a Theta. And Barb and my mom, while they didn't talk every day or every week, they always just had a really close connection. My mom also went on to get a doctorate. So there were actually two people from Tonopah in 1936 that ended up with their doctorates. I did want to tell a story to the family that when my father passed away tragically in 1979, the first call my mom made after she called me was to Barbara. And she came over to the Theta house where I was living. And stayed with me for a couple hours, checked on me every day, always stayed in touch. So I just, she was an amazing, amazing woman and somebody who had a great influence on my life, and because she was so influential in my mom's life. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I know Danny and Brett and Barbara and Bill, and I've known them for a very long time, and we've been out of touch for a while and stuff, but the things they did when my children were young and always made us feel real special and part of the family. And I'm just so sorry for your loss, that you had great parents and they were just the kindest people, and I'm just so glad I got to meet them and to meet you guys, and I know they're going to be very much missed. And I love you guys. Take care of yourselves, and maybe we can stay in closer touch. But thanks to both your mom and dad for what you did for Brad and me and Andrew and William and Stacy. I'll never forget it. Thank you very much.
Bill and Barbara were longtime friends with my mom and dad. And so Dad would always get the horses all ready and everything and take him deer hunting and stuff. And sometimes I felt sorry for Barb and us because we got left behind. So one time, I don't know how we got it together, but we asked Barbara to go pine knitting with us. So we went up to Desert Creek, and that was my dad's favorite place. And we were picking pine nuts off the ground, and we were singing Michael Row the Boat Ashore and stuff. And we just had a really good time, and she just really had a really good time out there with the pine trees and the sage and everything, and the Desert Creek running by. And she helped me out in a lot of ways, because like when I was in college at Walla Walla, then I was having a hard time with my general chemistry class. So I talked to her about it, and a worried college student, and so she said, well, find a tutor and I'll pay for him. And so she did, and I thought, well, that's pretty good, because I wasn't even going to UNR at the time. And then I came home, and I hadn't heard a professor for about 17 years, and I really wanted to hear a professor, so I signed up for some really hard classes, and organic chemistry was one of them. And so then I was telling her, oh, I'm having a hard time with organic chemistry, and she found me a tutor again, and I think it helped me to make it through the class and everything. And there were sometimes I remember her saying things like, we would talk about the college kids going and getting an education, and she was saying, unless you really have a passion for going to school, unless you really want to go to school, then you shouldn't. And I've always thought about what she said, and I thought, yeah, when you just can't stand it anymore, you just got to go to school, then that's a really good thing. And and then when she she was having her dementia problems and stuff, and I'd come visit her and bring my grandkids up here, and we had gone on a trip to Florida, and I had taken them to the Tampa aquarium, and so she had an easel there, so they all drew jellyfish and stuff for her, and drew her really pretty pictures, and she always wanted to take us out in the back where the table was, where you could sit, and we would watch the geese and the ducks, and she'd always want us to she'd give us something to eat or whatever. And so then when I would come up here, and I'd be kind of by myself, not with the grandkids, and I'd stop at Olive Garden and get her a bowl of that chicken nochi soup and some breadsticks and take it to her. And she always liked to eat that. That was because it tasted really good. That was one of her favorites. And then one day I looked at her and I said, "I love you." And she looked back at me and she said, "I love you too." And then she said, "Let's go on a picnic and let's go to Stewart Indian School." And I thought, well, that was really cool because my dad had gone there when he was 6 years old, and my aunts and uncles had gone there, and so I just appreciated that she always looked for people that were not privileged. She was one that she wanted to take care of people and make sure that kind of like they were all on an equal basis, you know. And one time she was going through the reservation there in Schurz, and she saw the HUD houses that they had gotten grants, and then people could pay according to their income. And she said, "Oh, I'm so glad that they have houses, a housing program. That's so nice." And I thought, yeah. And I thought, well, she knew about when the Indians, back in my dad's day, and they lived in colony houses, and Dad would say, "Yeah, you guys don't know what it's like." He said that our house was about as big as this living room, and it wasn't a very big living room. And he said, and we had a stove and a bed and a table with a couple chairs. And he said, and there was 8 people that were there. And so in the wintertime, sometimes we'd go in the house and he'd be there by the wood stove laying on the floor keeping warm. So I just want to tell Danny and all the family that if you ever have a feeling that you want to get a hold of me and we want to go do some things, outings or whatever, then I'd be more than glad to do that. And if there's ever anything that I could ever help with, if anything that you would need me to, I would be more than happy to do whatever you needed me to.
Well, my first memories of Aunt Barbara were as ring bearer at her wedding. And I can remember everybody was worried about me dropping the ring because I was just a little guy and was running around and playing and having a good time. And after the ceremony, we went to her mom and dad's house for the reception, and they had a swimming pool. And I was pulled away from the pool several times because everybody thought that I was going to fall in the pool. That was my first memories. I remember Aunt Barbara and Uncle Bill having me spend the summer with them years back on Crummer Lane, and they'd take me to Baker Stables down the road. We'd ride horses or to Moana swimming. We'd go on picnics with Grandma and Grandpa all the time. She was great to be with and always had something going on. And later on in years, my mom was sick, and Barbara would come over and visit with my mom, and we'd have chicken usually for dinner or lunch, and she would say, "All right, I've got to go, I've got another meeting," and she'd be off on her way, and 5 or 10 minutes later, here she'd be, come back in and say, "Anybody see my keys? Can't find the keys to the car." That happened multiple times. And lately, my wife and I would come see Aunt Barbara when she's sick the past year or so, and a few weeks before she passed, and she had a soft spot in her heart all the time, and we're going to miss her. And God bless you guys, Dan and Diane and kids. Sorry for your loss, but Barbara's in a better place right now, and she's not suffering, and she's laughing at all of us right now, and she's still giving us hints on which way to go. Thanks.
I'm Sherri McCarty. I'm married to Mike McCarty. Barbara was my aunt by marriage. I did feel like she was my aunt, just the same. No marriage needed. She was my aunt, and I loved her very much. We had a lot of... Sorry. We have a zillion memories of Barbara. Barbara came to Maui in 2014 for our daughter's wedding. Oh my gosh, we had such a great time with her. We were together for a week. When Dan said that she loved swimming is an understatement. We went on a snorkeling adventure, and Barbara went with us. And she got in the water, and she stayed in the water. And the boat was getting ready to leave, and we're like, Barbara, you need to come. You need to get out of the water. And she was like, already? And she took her time getting back, but oh man, she loved the water. We just had the best time with her, and we will truly miss her. We saw her 3 weeks before she passed, and we could see the decline. We tried to come and see her every couple of months. We live in Elko, and every time we come to Reno, we would come to see her. And it was always such a treat. And even when she couldn't tell you our name, she knew us. She knew that we traveled. She knew that where we lived. She knew we lived out in the country and we had horses. She knew all the things about us. And we will truly miss her.
My name is Heather Niman, and Barbara is my great aunt. And I got married in 2014 in Hawaii, and she was one of 20 people that came to the wedding. And she was just as adventurous as the wedding party. She was snorkeling, she was doing all the things. She could hang with the rest of us, and it was so awesome. But the day of our wedding, so my dad and I, for the bride and father of the bride, we were gonna ride down to the ceremony in a golf cart. And of course, Aunt Barbara showed up late. And so we were at the top area in the parking lot, and she screeched into the parking lot. And I was so nervous, couldn't even think, right before the wedding. And she runs over to the golf cart and she was like, "Can I catch a ride with you guys?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And she hopped in the front seat of that golf cart in her bright blue suit, and we rode down, and we had to kind of go down this hill. And I'll never forget the whole, everybody for the wedding looking up the hill for the bride to come down, and Aunt Barbara just sitting in the front seat of the golf cart. And we stopped at the bottom, and we were kind of trying to kill time so that she could get down, and she scurried and she ran and she found her chair before the ceremony started. But I'll just never forget her in that blue suit and just, "Can I catch a ride down to the ceremony?" And she jumped in the golf cart, and it was just so enjoyable to be around her, and her coming to my wedding was very special for her to make that trip.
So conversations with Aunt Barbara were always enjoyable, but rarely did I have one-on-one time with her. And she always wanted to make everybody feel at home, and always wanted to engage everyone. But I was able to have a really memorable conversation at my sister Heather's wedding in Hawaii. And we needed to get Aunt Barbara from the hotel up to Lahaina for dinner. And I said, "Please let me drive her." And so we had this, half-hour conversation or half-hour car ride. And in there we got to talk and visit. And to say that we are a little bit different on political ideology is an understatement, and that's all right. And that was part of what made it so enjoyable, is I got to understand her more, and she, I think, got to understand me a little bit more. And it was this discussion on politics that everyone should be able to have. It shouldn't be this contentious, vitriol-filled argument on either side of the aisle. And it just was two people having a conversation and finding connections and finding that which we could agree on, and respectfully disagreeing in other areas. But I will treasure that 30 minutes that I had to be able to just visit with her and talk about the world and talk about our small community as well. It was so measurable, and or memorable, and I regret that we didn't get that chance to come back and visit more. I would have loved to have sat at the dining room table and just chatted with her, or just sit on the couch, and I will certainly miss her.
My name is Don Darue. I am one of the many shepherded young people under Barbara's massive wings of loving and care. I've run into quite a few here tonight. Barbara was a dear friend, and also, more importantly, she was a maternal influence for me and for me at a time when I didn't have that in my life. And I have a lot of stories I could tell about Barbara, but I just want to touch on a couple quick vignettes that I was thinking about her recently, and I knew this was going to happen, this videotaping, and so I wanted to have some good stories. First would be when I was in college at the university, I would frequently stop by Barbara's office just to say hi, sometimes to hide out from a class I didn't want to go to, ask for her advice on a lot of different things. And she always had an open door, no matter what time of day it was or what was going on. She was always there. And to me, that really says a lot about Barbara, that she would stop what she was doing and listen to me. The other is that in I want to say 1982, I might be wrong, could have been 83, when Brett was starting his freshman year of college. He was going to school in Massachusetts. And before that was about to begin, Bill and the boys were skiing in Portillo, Chile. And the Thorntons reached out to me and said, hey, we need somebody to take Brett's Suburban full of his stuff and drive from Reno to Amherst and drop off his stuff and then fly back. Would you like to do that? Well, I was 23 years old. I'd never been east of Salt Lake City. I'd never been on a commercial jet. I knew I was going to get to fly home. And I jumped at the chance. And when I picked up the Suburban, I thought I was going to have to do it as fast as possible. And Barbara said, you take your time. You've never seen the country. Go see what's out there, have a good time. And she said, the only thing I ask is that every day, at the end of the day, you call me. And I did, and didn't have cell phones back then, so I would collect, of course. And Barbara would always ask me the new things I saw that day. What did I see that amazed me? What was my plan for the next day? And it was just a wonderful part of that whole experience that made it so memorable for me. The other is that when I graduated from college, Barbara called me up and said, you need to buy a suit. So Barbara took me to Macy's, and I tried on suit after suit after suit. I ended up buying a sport coat and a couple of shirts and a couple of ties that Barbara picked out, some pants. And at the end of that experience, we were in her car going back to the house. And I said, Barbara, were you trying to tell me that I'm not a very good dresser, that I don't look very good? And she gave me that Barbara Thornton like that. She just looked at me, she didn't answer me. And I laughed and she laughed. And then my final story is in 1987, we flew out to the dedication for Great Basin National Park outside of Ely. And we flew on, I can't remember what airline it was in Reno back then, but it was a small commuter plane, twin prop. And Bill had flown out ahead of all of us on his plane. We got to fly on this plane together. And I sat next to Barbara on that flight. And it was in, I want to say August, I might be wrong, but we ended up flying right into a summer thunderstorm, a big one. It was lightning all around the plane. And Barbara had told me when we got on the plane, she wasn't really that fond of flying, and especially flying on planes like that. And as the plane started lurching left and right and up and down, it was bad turbulence, and the lightning flashing, the whole plane would light up. Barbara was holding my hand, and every flash, every bump, she would squeeze tighter and tighter. And I was trying to tell her jokes and stories the whole time. Her eyes were closed, and there was a particularly bad bump. The plane fell quite a bit, and then we leveled out. And I looked at Barbara to make sure she was still breathing, and I hadn't said anything for about 30 seconds, and she said, "Keep talking," which no one ever tells me to do. And so I tried to keep telling her stories. And when we got on the ground, we were exiting the plane, and the pilot said, "Wow, we almost had to go to Pocatello, Idaho. That was so bad, but we made it." I thought Barbara was going to punch him in the nose. We got out on the tarmac, and we were walking in, and Barbara was still holding my hand. She let go of my hand, and to this day, I'm not sure all the blood has ever returned. But as we walked by, Bill was there to greet us, and I said, "Well, that was a hell of a flight." And he said, "That's why we call it the vomit comet." And he said, "But don't tell Barbara I told you that." So his secret was safe with me. And we had a great trip out there, going to Beko, going to the park dedication. But I love Barbara. I love all the Thorntons. They're wonderful people, and I'm so glad that they've been involved in my life.
So I was taking genetics classes up at UNR, and in some of my genetics classes, there's a lot of ethical issues. And one of our teachers had us read some articles done by an ethics professor, in particular medical ethics, which I later learned was Barb. After I had met Barb, I thought to myself, wait a second, isn't this the person that wrote that article that I really enjoyed? And so that was, I think, the first time I came upon Barb was through my genetics classes. But I eventually met her in person through estate planning, and then eventually being John's personal assistant and enjoying the family, and then being Barb's friend. And one time, it was probably one of the last times I spoke with Barb, she called me quite distraught and quite upset. And we had a difficult conversation, and she wanted my advice on something. And I gave her a very unpopular opinion. I gave her an opinion that she probably didn't want to hear, but deep in her heart knew was the right thing. And many times I have thought about Barb and what I had told her that day. And I just always wonder how that affected the family and how that affected her. But I think by the time I ended the call with her, she was at peace, knowing that I told her something she didn't want to hear, but that she knew she needed to hear. So that is a memory I keep with Barb all the time. I also have a lot of joyous and fun memories of Barb, but I just wanted that one because it's our last phone call, and also because it's one I think about a lot. Sometimes you have to tell people things that are hard to say and not popular to hear. And I know that Barb loved me and respected me for speaking the truth. So that's all I wanted to say. And I love you, Dan. And I hope that you know I'm always here for you guys.
I am Barbara Cavanaugh. I was Barbie's sister, sister-in-law for all our years until I was divorced and she was widowed. And so we had every family dinner together and a lot of fun and a lot of laughs. We were one time visiting in Santa Barbara together, and we were staying in a room, and she decided, I don't do sewing and all that, but she got a kit for us to do like some kind of stitching. And after sitting there for like 2 hours just tortured, I walked over and grabbed hers and mine and threw it in the garbage and said, we're done. But we did have a lot of things we did together through the years. We shared a cabin at Tahoe together, and both their parents were great. Marjorie was wonderful, and so was John Sr. And so I was very fond of all of them, and we were a family together for all those years. And our kids still are. We're cousins. I had 4 kids, and she had 2, and so we did a lot of things together. I remember her fondly, and I will think of Danny up there having a tough time getting through it because he's got his mother's emotions in him. He wears his heart on his sleeve like she did, and that's a good thing. I like that in people. So, gonna miss her. We're all just trying to get through this together. We're both in our 80s, and we met when we were 20s, so I was 21 when I got married, so that was when she became my sister-in-law. So we've got a lot of good memories with the family and just seeing the people today who we all share, and the Tonopah connection, because my father was from Tonopah, and his 5 siblings, and that they knew each other well when we got married. They already knew each other, so it was a good blended family. So goodbye to Barbie. She was a wonderful gal, and I know it's going to be hard for Danny.
My name's Epiphany Jordan. Barbara has been a friend of the family for years. Brett and I actually went to high school together. But I'd like to talk about an experience I had with her probably in the last 10 years. So one of the many things that I do to make money is I'm a professional tarot reader, and Barbara came over to my mom's house. I was visiting. I was living out of town at the time, and I was visiting my mom, and Barbara came over and I gave her a reading, and I don't remember. Sometimes I remember a lot of the readings that I'm giving people. Sometimes I remember very little of them. But this reading that I gave her, I remember the first card that we pulled, and it was talking about this contradiction of her being a really strong, proud, independent, feminist woman, and how that contrasted with her staying in her marriage for too long and falling into these very traditional patterns, which that her son was talking about that she didn't follow, but yet she did. And this contrast between who she was. I mean, I guess maybe it wasn't a contrast because she was still being an incredibly loyal person who stood by her man and kept her family together, but at how different that felt from somebody who was preached independence and self-fulfillment and happiness, and that she had fallen into this trap. And it was, I think, I didn't tell her anything she didn't know, because I never tell people anything they don't already know, but it was a pretty profound moment for her, I think, to be able to hear that and put words and a voice to this, this dichotomy that, really talks about the complexity that, all of us have inside of us. It's like human beings are complicated, and she certainly was a complicated woman, and I'm going to really miss her a lot. She was very, very supportive of me over the years and everything that I did, and a really great friend to my mom. And bye, Barbara. I'm gonna miss you so much.
Hi, my name is Patricia Lynch, and I'm an old friend of Barbara's from early feminist days, from the Ann Martin Women's Political Caucus and all of those days. And I'm also a lawyer, and we used to debate the Equal Rights Amendment, and we would go debate usually Marjorie Foote and Janine Hansen. Marjorie Foote was single, and Janine Hansen was not always single. She got married and divorced a lot. It was a little spotty there. And they would always call us man-haters and everything. And I said to Barbara one time, we're both married and they're not, and they're calling us the man-haters. And she just said, oh, don't worry about it. That's just the way they are. Just hang in there, So that was just kind of a fond memory. and everything. And then I also knew Bill because I was a lawyer and everything. And she's just a wonderful person, and I just feel blessed to have known her.
What I want to say to you, Barbara, is thank you for leading the way for women, for what you've done, where you saw a way through what other people didn't see. And it's really incredible to see the wake that you leave for all of us. Being a nurse for 30-some years, it's really incredible the gift that you gave to each one of us in ethics class, in all of your writings, in your words, in your thinking, and mostly in your heart, and what you leave to the family. And when I heard Mick speak tonight, or I forget his new name or her new name, but as foreign as it is for some of us to understand and comprehend that, it's like standing on the shoulders of what you truly believed, is to let humans be humans and express who we are. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. I remember once I sent you a text and you're like, yes, I would love to have a conversation about life, love, and freedom. And we met at the Cheese Board and Wine Cellar, and we had our little sports tea, and we just chit-chatted. And it was so great. It was like sitting next to an old friend. And so for that, I'd like to say thank you for forever being in my heart, and for really creating just a beautiful family that you have. And what incredible speeches from your grandkids tonight. Kitty, who's grown into Katherine, incredible poem, and Stella for, wow, just stepping into your shoes and becoming exactly who you would want her to be, leading the charge. So, thank you. Love you, Barbara Thornton.
This poem is called Where I'll Find Her. I lost my grandmother. She's been gone for just over a month. Turns out we don't come by grandmothers often, so I've been on a sort of scavenger hunt to find her ever since. I started in her bedroom and retraced steps all around her house. The rooms felt like she'd just been there, so I assumed she was close. I couldn't help but check the seat backs and couch cushions where we used to look for her car keys, kitchen cabinets, even the pantry. I found chocolate in there, but of course she didn't fit. I forgot to check today's paper. She might still be in the bathroom reading it. If you were to hand me an oatmeal cookie, I could tell you if she made it with my grandmother's recipe. But really, if there's ever any cookie dough nearby, I'll assume she is close by, ready to sneak a spoonful when no one's looking. And well, wherever women are doing anything amazing, she's probably seated in the audience with a sign that says, "You go, girl." So that doesn't narrow it down much at all, but it's a starting place. I'm convinced I'll have to check the Greyhound bus headed toward the sunset somewhere to make sure she's not seated with a stranger strategizing about saving the world. Of course, she also did that on park benches, in cafes and coffee shops, all the living rooms of her best friends, and the bar stools of her favorite restaurants. To be honest, she may have picked up a picket sign already and could be standing outside the White House right now, seething with a sour face about the standing place of democracy being as democratic as she can be. But I'll have to check the classroom too. She may be giving an impassioned lecture of ethical ambiguity, which I'd like to sit in on and listen to, take notes, and find out what grade she'd give me, although I'd bet no better than a B+. See if my hypothesis is true that she is still trying to work out the medical complications of love, trying to figure out how we love when it's complicated. We all know how complicated love gets when a heart breaks. She knew. So I'm ready to check a few operating rooms. She might be trying her hand at stitches, sewing up sadness and suturing suffering, providing CPR on her own surely still beating heart. My grandmother lost a lot in this lifetime, like many of us do. Her phone, keys, wallet, and purse, namely, but lots of people too. She had a lot of friends she'd met along the way. And sometimes it's the case we lose each other in life before we lose each other in death. Sometimes even our memory fades. But we find it in the way our hands hold on to safe places. I loved her hands. Even though I inherited this habit of handing over items to the black hole of the household, most often my cell phone, and my friends make fun of me for it, but I tell them I'm just trying to call my grandma. We have a habit of looking for each other in the wrong places and finding out that we both still show up. She's been showing up everywhere. The last time I found my phone, I FaceTimed her, and she told me how beautiful I was. I said, I love you, but that day she wasn't easily convinced, so I said it over and over and over again. I love you. 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 Until I had to go. Stood as she always has at her front door, never saying goodbye without seeing my eyes, because she still had something to say to me. Touched her fingers to her lips and blew me a kiss. Never wanted to leave me empty-handed or cold. So I'll have to check the coat closet. Or maybe the coat factory. She might be making enough jackets for the whole world to wear an extra layer this winter. And when she's finished, she might find a nice place to watch the ducks swim in the snow. Right after I lost her, she seemed to find me. In numbers, flowers, birds, books, and poetry. So maybe I won't have to go far. But while I'm waiting for her grand appearance, I'll probably check every Billy Collins publication to see which stanzas I can find her smiling in. I'll have to look for her in the direction of the wind, see which way the butterfly wings are blown. I'm certain I'll find her wherever the butterflies and bluebirds call home. And I will have to check in with all her favorite people. Make sure she isn't hiding out under the couch cushions and kitchen cabinets at their houses, hoping to have more time just for catching up. Of course, she may still be caught up solving the systems to which she made her surest sacrifices. She was a witness to the truth that none of us are given enough time or sight, the sight it takes to see every single thing through, to find everything we lose. Sometimes car keys show up in strange places. Sometimes children do too. Her son, my dad, often paraded with Peter Pan's Lost Boys in Never Never Land, which is the kind of hard-to-swallow hurt that tries to join in on hide and seek. And even if your kids don't find a way back, the hurt never really picks a good hiding spot. Even when kids don't grow up, the hurt does. We inherit this too. The houses our parents and grandparents grow up in, the stories that scared them, the rooms too dark to look in. And so they gift us all their best survival tools, their brightest flashlights, like how she's always left half-finished clues on folded-up sticky notes, tried to give everyone she knew a key to unlock their very own bright future. They implore us to find the rest of the story, recover missing chapters, and rewrite them if we have to. This is what my grandmother taught me to do. She left all her journals half-finished, and I'm convinced it was just to give me a place to start. She knew how handy a journal is for deciding what we do about our fathers, how we grieve them if we have to. We grieve what we have to. And I know I'll find my grandmother in every teardrop, especially the joyful ones. Because if you knew her, you know she was accustomed to crying about how beautiful her life was. Everything she lost and everything she found, and what was still left over to look for, like the path to an apology, a mess-free mess-up, a guilt-free holiday. I'll look for her there, carrying with me gratitude for the treasure map she made with all of her best mistakes. I'll leave her at dinner place. In any case, she's still dancing with Frank Sinatra while the storm drops, holding her hand out to you while the earth shakes. She's always gonna be somewhere singing a song with her sons on the other side of the train tracks, working on the railroad all the livelong day. So, I'll look for her in human rights and healthcare systems, in the future champions of mental health and the warriors of wisdom. I'll start off where she left off with every half-baked pie and half-read book. I know I'll find her in the finishing of them. Every time I do, I'll put her in a safe place, keep her with every prized possession, in the palms and pinky toes that look just like hers, stick her in my own stitched up heart, look at my own aging skin in the mirror, and stick out my tongue just to see her smirk. She's snowshoeing and having a slumber party. She's at the very best birthday party, never planned far in advance, the most fun girls' trip to the most random place that somehow knows beauty's name. She's at a storytelling circle, eating waffles with hot raspberry sauce at the Log Cabin Cafe. She might be at the zoo with Carmen, or at lunch with Christine. She's watching Stella at the barn, my uncle on skis, Sean at a race. She's in a quiet place, needle-pointing a Christmas stocking for my future kid, wearing whatever clothing item women are told not to, like she wore her pants in her all-girls Catholic school, eating a Deli-Town sandwich with her longest lifetime friends on a Tuesday. At art museums or with anyone interesting. I'll probably have to drive down to Tonopah and stay at the Mizpah to see if she's there haunting the guest book. We took a road trip once and that place is definitely haunted. And whatever I can't find, or for however long it takes, I'll save a seat for her at the table, where women, especially grandmothers, ought to be.
Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Tutu's celebration of life is tomorrow. If she saw and knew everything that is going on for every single member of my family right now, she would call us busy bees and tell us that we needed to come and see her. She believed that if we sat down at her table, drank whatever water, orange juice, sparkling water, whatever drink she offered us, because we always had to drink something, and told her about what was going on, she could set the world straight. I miss knowing that the moment I sat down with my grandma, that no matter what, she would support me in my endeavors, she would support my cousins, she would support my whole family. I wish I could have been alive at a time where I could have supported Tutu in her endeavors. Despite the fact that I love my parents, I've always wished that I had been able to see Tutu in her prime. Teaching, founding organizations, writing books, public speaking, publishing papers. I did get to experience a tiny, yet very monumental to me, part of my grandma's legacy and her influence at the Nevada Women's Fund Power of the Purse 50-year celebration in May of 2023.
As many of you know, my grandma became frustrated when she saw the lack of scholarships for women who wanted to go to college, who had big dreams. So she and a few of her other friends co-founded the Nevada Women's Fund. My grandma was nervous about going to the luncheon in 2023. She was experiencing the slow stages of dementia at this point, and large crowds sapped her energy. She ended up deciding to go to the luncheon, and my father and I accompanied her. The amount of people in the Reno ballroom was astounding. It blew me away. None of these people, this organization, would have existed without my grandma, my tutu. The ability to have the widest influence for good is exactly what Dr. Barbara Cavanaugh Thornton did. And in that moment, I was really, truly able to understand it. Later, after honoring all of the founders, I saw it again. As we were standing up to leave, a line of people formed, all wanting to talk to my grandma. She didn't remember many of them, but they all remembered her. One, a former student, said, "You helped me believe in myself. I would not be here if it was not for you." A police officer who was staffing the event said, "I know you don't know me, but I wanted to thank you. This scholarship made it possible for me to achieve my dreams." And another, "My granddaughter is able to attend school because of you." I have so many blurry, yet full of joy photos on my phone of that moment. I was crying the whole time. If I can achieve even a sliver of what my grandma did, if we can all achieve even a sliver of what she did, help people the way she did, and make an impact the way that she did, I'll know that I've honored her memory, and I know that we all will as well. I miss her. I miss her open heart, her sassy jokes, her unwavering support, her love for me, her love for horses, and most of all, her energy, her aura, the way she was herself. The world's not the same without her in it. Reno lost such an impactful, warm soul, yet it also gained so much from her as well. I know that if she was here and she saw all of the people who came to honor her, she wouldn't feel like she was worthy of that much love and that much support, but we always knew that she was. As for my reading, I had two women approach me who were friends of hers from Tonopah when they were little, and I really hope that they shared their stories as well, because I didn't get as many stories of my grandma when she was little as I wish I had. But I think it was so cool because one of them also was born in 1938 and also became, or also got her PhD as well. And so to have people who are really out in the middle of nowhere be able to achieve that and achieve their dreams was amazing. But I also learned that apparently my grandma had a Palomino pony in Tonopah that then her friends told me that she was able to take that pony up with her when they moved to Reno, and that apparently that pony stayed in their front lawn and they had like all this space to ride. And man, I mean, my grandma supported me through 10 years of horseback riding ever since I came here, and she helped me be able to have the relationship that I do with the horse that I currently have. But stories like that to me are so cool because I never got those out of her. And I can just imagine her like having the time of her life, riding these ponies, having those friends when she was younger. And so that to me those are really cool memories. Those are really important memories. Yeah, that's what I have. I mean, she impacted every single one of us, and it was to see the amount of people that came to this event and the amount of people that knew each other because of my grandma, and just all the connections that were formed, whether it's because people came here or because of her, that was truly amazing. So, yeah.
And she was in she's the one woman in a class of 500 men at George Washington University in DC. And she said later that law wasn't for her. But I think that was a good call, because I think one lawyer in the family was probably enough. And I think that the story that she wrote as an educator and helping people through their life and make decisions was really her true calling. The amount of messages that I've received since she passed about that somebody wouldn't have gone to college, that she helped somebody out of a bad marriage, and not ever in a forceful way. It was never like that. She was just warm and thoughtful, and she had a magic about her. To think that she came out of Tonopah just consistently blows my mind. And I love Tonopah. I absolutely love Tonopah. It's not a slight on Tonopah at all. It's just that dirt roads, and at a time when women just didn't do that kind of thing, to go to San Francisco and then end up getting a PhD and then going on and changing the world, really. I think, too, I just want to touch on like what we were able to do as a well, in the end, we created sort of a foundation without it being a fully foundation. But when my mom's capabilities started to fade, her will did not. And she continued every time I was up there. What are we working on? She wanted to work. She wanted to work on something. And so we came up with an idea where she would continue to pay me a wage, and I would just go out and be her person in the world. And so she allowed me to go out and be, food for thought and feed kids, and be in the board of directors of Muscle Powered, so that I could advocate for trails and education and for people that don't always get to play team sports or have that kind of support. And she just was she's an amazing woman, and I will appreciate her partnership, and I'll appreciate her love, and I will forever miss her. And I miss singing with her at the end. And I'm eternally grateful. Thanks, Mom.